What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily Channel with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to dive into Boston's NBA offseason. We are in the slow zone of the NBA news cycle. However, we still got a few important things to talk about. But before we get into that, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. We're cruising past 2K subs. You love to see it. Thanks for getting involved in the chat. Let's keep that energy going. And speaking of energy going, all right, I don't even have this on the ticker. This isn't even on the Cryon, but I remembered that EuroBasket starts today. They tip off a bunch of the different countries battling against each other for EuroBasket Championship. And right now, our very own starting five, well, it's number five, not full five. Our starting five, the big man, Mike Zakarian, is out there battling for Portugal right now. Let me give you some stats. It's only in the second quarter. They're in a 2-point game against the Czech Republic. Zakarian right now, this is live reporting. He's got 9 points, 3 boards, and a dime. 4 for 5 from the field. The dude even hit a triple. Zakarian's out there knocking down triples. So we'll keep an eye on Zakarian as he balls out there. And just EuroBasket in general, because there's a lot of NBA players. It's a fun tournament to watch. And if you need something to stream along to get you through the workday, all of these games are happening in the morning. So it's kind of nice. Like, I think we have another one tipping off at 11 a.m. Eastern time, which is, right after this video goes live. Let's see who plays today. So we had Great Britain and Lithuania are playing, and then we have Montenegro and Germany, and then Latvia. You can watch Kristaps Porzingis at 11 a.m. See, this is a global show. This is an international show. Sometimes we just name countries. But let's get into what was actually on the docket for today. And I wanted to just briefly touch upon new ownership, right? So we know the Celtics have, 400 new people that are involved in the ownership, with Bill Chisholm leading the way. We know they spent a ton of money on this team. And then the first thing they did was lop off some salaries. And I'll be honest, it is a little concerning when you see new leadership come in and really shake things up. But we should note, I do think even if Wyc Grousbeck, who is technically still there right now, but even if it was the same ownership group as last season, I do think that we would have seen similar moves. I just think financially speaking, they were going to have to do something similar anyways. As we mentioned before, when we get to the beginning of this NBA offseason, including salary and going over the tax, the Celtics roster costs over $500 million. Since then, they've cut that more than half. It's like 220 or something like that million. And that number's still going to go down too, because as we've outlined ad nauseum at this point, they're going to make at least one more move, whether it's now or before the trade deadline, to make sure they're not in the tax, because I don't think they want the roster they have currently constructed to be in the tax. But I say all that we are in this, not waiting period. That's not the right term, but I'm keeping an eye on some of the actions in the words of the ownership, because we've seen this time and time again. And of course, somebody like Bill Simmons from The Ringer has pointed this out many times over the year, but you have a new owner come in and they, like to pick up the snow globe and shake it around, maybe choke it out a little bit. And I bring that up because of the Phoenix Suns and because of Phoenix Suns ownership recently. Matt Ishbia, who, if you look at the internet long enough, you'll see highlights of him playing pickup currently in his 50s. But there was a tweet that came out yesterday from Burn City Sports, and this was referencing an ESPN article, and it says ESPN NBA insiders ranked the Phoenix Suns one of the most teams likely to tumble in the upcoming 25-26 season. Now, I don't even think that's a hot take, right? They've lost Kevin Durant and they've lost Bradley Beal. They've got the Charlotte Hornets back front court now, and Mark Williams and Nick Richards as their big guy. They drafted Maluk from Duke, who I actually do like, but they're still relying pretty heavily on guys like Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. They traded for Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. So they've got a bunch of NBA guys, but I don't know how that's going to translate. But anyways, I say all of that because Matt Ishbia, the owner, goes out there and he quote tweets this, and he says, "I'm not worried about what the so-called experts thinks. They had us as a title contender for the past 2 years, and we were wrong then. We're focused on making our fans proud by playing great as a team and building a brand of basketball that's tough and gritty." Now, I bring this up because Ishbia, over the last couple of years, now, granted, he's only been an owner for a few years. If you can remember, he was sitting courtside and then got into a jump ball situation with Nikola Jokic in a playoff series against the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets. We saw him go out there and say that all 29 other owners would trade to be in our spot right now. And then this past season, after they let go of James Jones was let go as general manager, he then basically he is a Michigan State alum. He's only hiring Michigan State guys, whether it's head coaches or new GMs. The new GM has never been a GM before in the NBA, and he came out there and said, like, I need to be, this is Ishbia, I need to be even more involved in the process. Now, historically speaking, very rarely, and again, maybe I got a little PTSD for how John Henry is handling the Boston Red Sox right now, but very rarely, ownership getting more involved is a good thing. Like Mark Cuban, even when he first took over, like he was pretty aggressive. He was very involved. He had some main character syndrome energy. Like that's maybe the best case scenario, and still I would say in a lot of situations with Cuban that wasn't the best thing. Like when he was doing his best job, it seemed like he took his foot off the gas a little bit. So I just put this all out there because I want to monitor how the Celtics' new ownership handles this upcoming situation this season. Like, are they going to be very vocal? I think one thing we've already noticed is that Brad Stevens has become way more vocal, it's like now, than his entire time a part of the Boston Celtics organization, even including when he was a coach, right? It seems like they're like, hey, Brad, you got to get out there, man. You got to talk to these people. And I think that's probably a good sign. Instead of new leadership coming in and then them going front and center and being like me, this is my team, this is what we're going to do with my asset, right? Instead they're like, hey, here's a familiar face, look at Brad Stevens, look at Brad Buttigieg, right? Let him go out there and him talk to the people. So I do think that is a good sign, but I wonder as this season evolves and let's we could play it both sides, right? Like if the Celtics get off to a rough start, like how do they respond? Do they cut some more salary right away, or are they still like business savvy and are they waiting for the right time to make that deal to get the most on their return for the guys that they might be trading, whether it's Sam Hauser or Anthony Simons? Do they respond rationally or irrationally? If they get off to a good start, right? Maybe they get off to a hot start. Are they then a little bit more aggressive? Like, I'm just fascinated to see how they are going to respond. I think initially what we saw from them after the sale was like complete, but not really complete. We heard a lot of how much of a fan they are of the Celtics, how I believe Bill Chisholm's wife is like a diehard Celtics fan. Supposedly they bought like property in Massachusetts. We saw them courtside quite a bit at the end of the regular season and into the postseason. So I'm fine with that. Like I like having a presence, but I always get a little bit nervous when we get new owners to be like, what is this actually going to look like in practice here? And are they able to just just cruise control, right? Keep like, yes, you're the one making the decisions. Or honestly, Brad should be making the decisions, but you're the one like paying for a lot of the stuff, right? So like, of course you're gonna have a say in it, but are you relying on those around you, or are you putting your foot down on the gas? So that's something to watch. Anyways, it was just like, let's not be Ishbia. And again, kind of like the Sacramento Kings. Remember every time I say like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit bad, let's see how the Sacramento Kings are doing to see if can we feel better. If you're nervous about ownership, just go check out some Matt Ishbia stuff, and then you'll probably feel a little bit better, right? So there you go. That's your therapy for the day. This was brought to you by BetterHelp. I don't have a promo code yet, but it would be sick if we had a promo code. So BetterHelp, reach out, or a coffee sponsorship. Let's get some ASMR for you freaky freaks. That's the good stuff. All right, speaking of some NBA slop. Russell Westbrook still does not have a landing spot. And I bring this up because Russ yesterday, there's a video going around of him out on a yacht, just taking some free throws. And I don't know, great flex. I like that Russ is working on his game, whether he's in a gym or in the ocean. He's out there. I feel like him and Clay should get together and just be boatsmans. But yeah, he was on a yacht getting some free throws in. I do think it's interesting that Russ still hasn't had a landing spot, and I wonder if he not suffers. That's not the right word, but if he's penalized almost for what he's done in the past, in the sense that like he was this MVP ball of energy, and now like, we're like, oh, he's not that anymore, so maybe he can't impact winning. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. And you look at some of the spots where he's flamed out a little bit, right? So he went from OKC, Oklahoma City, ends up in the Lakers. Well, did he go to the Lakers right away? No. I think he goes to Houston next, I believe. And then, honestly, the Houston situation wasn't like the worst in the world. He goes over to the Wizards and played like really, really good basketball with the Wizards, but he was like the best player there, so it was easy for him to like excel. Then goes all the way, and I feel like I'm forgetting a landing spot, but I don't think so. Then goes to the Lakers, and that's when like things turn sour a little bit, right? LeBron recruits him. LeBron blows up his NBA championship team. They had just won a title. They get rid of a bunch of dudes. Bring over Russ, and then the fit's just not right. The fit doesn't work. Russ then goes to the Clippers, seems to excel in a role, but then bounces there, and then goes to Denver. And honestly, I thought Denver made the most sense. I thought he played really well with Jokic. I mean, he's a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? So when you get the best of Russ, it looks awesome. But he's going to do like at least 4 dumb things a game. And for the Nuggets, right, he played 75 games. He averaged 13.6 dimes and 5 boards. Shot 44% from the field, 32% from 3, and 66% from the free throw line. And I just want to bring up, too, because this came up in the comments a couple weeks ago, Russ came off the bench. I know people like to be like, oh, how dare you, Russ start. No, Russ came off the bench. And so, like, he clearly is okay being this type of guy. I think the one holdup for Russ right now is that he wants to stay in the West Coast, which is too bad, because I do think if there was ever like a jolt of energy, like you guys get so excited about the potential of Ben Simmons coming to the Celtics, which again, Simmons is somebody who has not signed yet either. We're still waiting for that. I think Russ would actually make way more sense, whether the team is trying to win or not. Like, I guess if they're trying to tank, he doesn't make that much sense because I really do think he can carry a bench unit by himself. He will single-handedly, like, keep bad teams in games. Not necessarily win games, but could keep them in games. And especially if you have, like, I don't know, if you put him next to Pritchard and you want Pritchard shooting the ball a little bit more instead of facilitating, you just let Russ run wild and try to find shooters. I just think it'd be fun. And if the team is going to be bad, that's like price of admission. Let me watch Russ run around. I'd be okay with that. But he still has not landed in a spot. I think it's pretty unlikely that he goes to Boston. I think it's more likely that, it seems like Sacramento is doing everything they can to get rid of Malik Monk so they can find a spot for Russell Westbrook, which, again, as I referenced, if you're feeling uncertain about yourself or your team, just go look at what Sacramento's doing. And none of that will make sense. But something to keep an eye on with Russ and Ben Simmons. I mean, we're still waiting on these restricted free agents who have yet to do anything, right? And like Josh Giddey, it seems like he's getting closer to a deal with the Chicago Bulls. Mum's been the word from Cam Thomas, who went out there and unfollowed everybody on the Brooklyn Nets, unfollowed him on Instagram to be like, hey, you should pay me more. I'm going to unfollow you. Like, what are we doing? Quentin Grimes and the Sixers still hasn't been paid, but the one that's really holding everything up it's the Golden State Warriors, who have yet to make a move this entire NBA offseason. What? Kuminga still has yet to figure out what they're going to do with him, whether they're going to sign him or they're going to trade him. That's held up Al Horford, who still hasn't had a landing spot, D'Anthony Melton, who still hasn't had a landing spot, and then Simmons and Westbrook. I'm sure there are a couple others that I'm forgetting as well, but we're still waiting for that domino to fall. And I think the Al Horford piece is pretty important because I would say it's unlikely. But, I would say like 10% chance Al comes back to Boston, which again, similarly to Russ, that's just vibes. Just I want Uncle Al back. Just give me the vibes. Give me the vibes. All right, let's get more offseason slop. You're not going to believe this. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. And before I get into it, like Rondo, I've talked about him before. He's like one of my all-time favorite Celtics. I don't know if that's because it felt like the hipster thing when you had like Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and KG. I'm like, nah, I'm a Rondo guy. But I just liked Rondo. I thought he was just so much fun to watch. Rondo, crazy stat that came out. And I had to like look this up 4 or 5 times because I like couldn't tell like what was real and what wasn't real. But Rondo apparently, and now I can't find it. Awesome. Oh, wait, I bookmarked it. Rondo apparently is like ranked the number 1 college football quarterback in the country. If you don't believe me, go look at Full Court Pass, at Full Court Pass or at Frankie Vision, which is hilarious that's what I'm citing right now. Might as well be citing Sam Amico, am I right? But it's just highlights of Rondo being a flag football quarterback, and he's just throwing babies, throwing dimes. So let's shout out Rondo. I was waiting for him to be an NBA head coach. That's somebody that I was excited to see if they evolved as a coach. I know he's rubbed some people the wrong way. I remember, didn't he get like some crazy speeding ticket not so long ago too? And like maybe I don't want to speak out of turn. I can't remember what was in the vehicle. But anyways, just shout out Rondo, man. Just out there throwing some dimes, just living his college intramural life, right? Just chucking footballs. That's what we all want to do. We all want to leave our day job and then be like, what if I was awesome at college? I mean, at college football, and at flag football. So shout out Rondo, man. One of my favorite players. Absolute legend. All right, let's get into some of your comments from yesterday's video. And then, hey, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe. Hit the subscribe. I'm going to start with a quote that had some real sass in it, because I like when we get the sass. So let's start with the sass. All right, here we go. Robert Baker, 782. My guy, Bob Baker, who I grew up next to a Bob Baker. So if that's my old neighbor, first of all, I'm impressed you're on YouTube, because you're for sure in your late 70s now. All right, here we go. Here we go. That trade does. So this is referencing the Anthony Simons to the Sacramento Kings for Isaac Jones and Malik Monk. And he goes, that trade does not qualify. We have to take back at least 80% of the salary, and we're sending out, and given the numbers that you just articulated, it's not 80%. If it's nowhere near 80%, this is not the first time you've gone on and on about trades that can't happen under the collective bargaining agreement. Well, first of all, my guy, we put it into Spotrac, right? So I go, I don't just normally, pull stuff out of the back of my head and chuck it out there. But I tell you what, if I did, it's fine, because it's August. There's nothing to talk about, man. However, in this scenario, I went to Spotrac, and then I was like, I don't know if Spotrac is 100% accurate. So let me go to ESPN. And I went to two different trade machines. And you know what I did? I put Anthony Simons from Boston to Sacramento. And then I went from Sacramento. I put Isaac Jones and Malik Monk, put him over there. Anthony Simons makes $27 million. We got Monk making 18, I believe it is. And then Isaac Jones making, what was it, like $2 million, whatever the vet minimum is. So you know what? In both scenarios, in Spotrac and ESPN, it said trade accepted. So Bobby Baker, this is not the first time you've made a comment that was incorrect, but I'm sure you'll keep bringing it. We got our guy NBA Update says Malik Monk is perfect perfect fit for our team as a starter or a bench. I'm a Malik Monk fan, man. I am to this day. I like Monk. We got one more comment here though. One more we'll get into, and that's our guy Dogs Are Pick 61970. He says, I literally cannot comprehend why people are hating on Anthony Simons so much that they trade him for players who aren't even close to his level. This is a contract year for him, so he's going to put in maximum effort into everything. I'd much rather have that kind of player on our team. Simons' potential with Celtics is higher than 90% of the trade proposals I've seen. Plus, if he plays really well, his value could only go up, giving us a chance of a valuable midseason trade if we decide to move him. That's massive potential. The one part that I really agree with you here is the midseason trade part. Like, I do think you're right. Like, if he comes out here and balls out and, averages like 40+% from three on volume, he averages like 26 and 6 or something like that, absolutely. Like, that makes him a little bit more desirable. I just want to say, man, I do not hate Anthony Simons. As I've said before, he was a fantasy basketball legend for the Portland Trail Blazers, especially like a late night hammer, because he's at like the West Coast, and you're like, oh, my team's not doing too well. And then Simons comes in and balls out, and you're like, hey, I'm back on top. Give me that sweet, sweet cash. Simons is the issue I run into with Anthony Simons this year. It's not that he's making $27 million, but it is because he's an expiring contract, right? So, like, if you don't move off Anthony Simons, you would better move off Sam Hauser then, because you're going to be in the tax, right? And Simons, you're not going to have next year. Like you said, he's going to put in maximum effort to get for his next contract. So that means if you don't move him, is your plan to pay him next year? And you just said he's playing for a contract. So how much are you willing to pay Simons next season, right? We know we're paying Tatum and Brown $50+ million. We know we got Pritchard still in the contract on the books, Hauser still on the books, White still in the books, who's making close to $30 million. Are you paying Sam Hauser $25+ million? And if you're doing that, how much money do you have left for a big? Because as we've outlined in previous videos, that's going to be the Celtics' number one priority moving forward. We know the core of White, Pritchard. I'm going to keep throwing Pritchard in there too. White, and even if you don't want to, White, Tatum, and Brown, right? That is the three-man core, but you need somebody to grab rebounds. Now, maybe our EuroBasket god, Namias Cato, who they're at halftime 32-29 as we're doing this live. Let's see if we got any stat updates for our Portuguese prince, our big man, Namias. Let's see. Oh, this is not, okay, player stats. Sorry, this is the terrible stat. Oh, Cato at halftime, 15 points, 6 boards, and a dime. He's 7 for 8 from the field, still only 1 triple. Let's go. You know what? Forget what I said. You can give Simons $40 million a year because Keita is the center of the future. Let's go. But anyways, it's not Simons hate. I'm a Simons fan. I'm just saying. It doesn't make sense long term unless you're willing to pay him. And I hope you're willing to pay me. Let's give me that money. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful little Wednesday. We'll be back at it tomorrow, hopefully with no flag football comments. Maybe we can just do basketball stuff. But again, it's late August. Have a good one. Hit the subscribe.